Hi, I'm Ramona from Happy Learning Moments. I'm a homeschool mom to a 9-year-old and a 7.5-year-old. We've been homeschooling ever since the beginning for the past 9 years. Our daughter will be in 4th grade this year and our son will be in 2nd grade. You can find us on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook at Happy Learning Moments, where I love to share all things homeschooling, anything from homeschool room inspiration to curriculum choices, resources we find invaluable, daily rhythm, and in general, I just love to chat and share all things motherhood, parenting, and sparking that curiosity, joy, and creativity in our children, whether you're a homeschool parent or not. So feel free to give us a follow at Happy Learning Moments for more. Today I'm going to be sharing all about our math curriculum choice for our 2nd grader. He's actually been a year ahead for the past several years. And that's one of the things I absolutely love about homeschooling, the ability to cater the teaching and learning approach to what your child needs. You can meet them right at their level. You're not teaching to a classroom of 25 students where you need to keep a certain pace, where you need to check off certain things that you have covered as far as the topics just to get through a semester. You are really able to slow down, speed up, meet your child where they need. And again, because you're teaching to your individual child, because this is your family and this is your homeschool, you are catering the approach to the things that your family finds necessary, good, and beautiful to support in this learning, in this journey of lifelong learning together. Is your child a tactile learner? Is your child a visual learner? Do they prefer reading and writing? And again, because you're not teaching to the masses and you're working one-on-one with your child, you're able to gauge your child's individual needs to truly cater learning to their unique skill sets, interests, and learning approach. You don't have to have an education background. Homeschooling provides something uniquely profound for homeschool families. You're able to truly make this something beautiful and unique to your family and to your child's needs to truly support and advocate for them.
Much time is
I love
between the start.
What did I hear my petunia say?
I love that.
I love to hear that.
Trees growing by the lake. No. GM means exercise, science. Okay, so GM, he does exercise like us. Science, he does it like us. Music, he does like us. And he has a snack like us.
And so math will look different. Math can be adding up the cost of things at the grocery store. It can be measuring ingredients while baking together. It can be doing half of a lesson. It could be zooming through and doing several lessons, all depending on what it is that your child needs. And in this way, a math lesson will look different for every child and every family. So it could be that you do half of a lesson to keep things short and sweet. It could look like your child is really into it and they want to do more than one lesson. And so you can progress through it at a different pace than what they would if they were in a classroom with their peers. And it could look like if your child is a visual learner, you're providing more visuals. Maybe the curriculum is visually rich and colorful. Maybe the way that you are going through and explaining something is visual based. If your child prefers a tactile approach, you can provide manipulatives such as math cubes and counters. If your child is an auditory learner, then you are just explaining things to them and you're reading it to them. And all of this makes a difference. So please keep all of this in mind as you approach homeschooling with your child, as you choose curriculum, that there's not a one glove fits all with curriculum. Learning and teaching approaches will look different for every family, and we're all going to have different materials and different methods in our teaching and homeschooling. So really kind of take things in, and as you look at curriculum, as you look at shares about it, as you research what might work for your family, think about your family's lifestyle, how it might fit into it, and remember that at the forefront, homeschooling is about connection over curriculum. So curriculum is there to support you on your journey, but it's not the end all. So this will be for a 3rd grade math curriculum, the overview, and the materials and resources. Singapore Dimensions Math is broken up into 2 halves, with the first half of materials referred to as 3A for grade 3, and the second half of grade 3 materials referred to as 3B. If you were purchasing the complete bundle set for the whole year, you would receive a home instructor's guide, printouts, textbook, workbook, and test book for the first half of the year, and you would receive the home instructor's guide, the printouts, textbook, workbook, and test book for the second half of the year. That said, do you need the complete bundle? Well, that depends on your teaching style and approach, but based on our experience, we've never needed everything in the bundle. Out of curiosity and just in case, I've gotten it. But if you feel pretty comfortable with math and you wanted to get just the bare minimum of what you would need for this course book, and this is really what we've only needed up until this point with my daughter starting grade 4 this year and my son starting grade 3, I haven't needed the home instructor's guide up until this point. With the bare minimum to complete the course, and this would be your basis for the whole curriculum, would be to get a textbook 3A and textbook 3B, and the 2 of those will give you everything that you need to complete grade 3 level math. Now, and I love that they're split up into 2 separate books, and they're light and portable for toting around. The home instructor's guide itself lets you know that the textbook is the basis of the curriculum. Although it's written to the student, it's meant as a tool for the teacher. Oftentimes, I'll leave the materials out on our table, and the kids will know what they're working on for that day, and they'll go ahead and work through the problems on their own with the guidance of the textbook. And then all I'm doing is coming back with them like after breakfast, and we go through and I review what they did, and if there was anything that they were having trouble with, that's when I work with them on the materials. Now, the home instructor's guide, what this could be useful. And again, they emphasize that you should focus on this and how it's called a guide, so it's not a detailed instruction book. Where it might be helpful for some is it goes through, it just tells you the weeks and what's being covered, which again, you can see all of that in the textbook. You don't need the instructor guide to tell you that. So it'll tell you materials that you could pair with the lessons, optional materials, the printouts that you can use, which again, the printouts you could just purchase the bundle, or they're available as a free PDF download, but it tells you which ones could correlate with the lessons. And also available for free download are some mental math sheets that you can use to pair with lessons. Kind of gives you a little chapter opener, walks you through what each section is about, the objectives, and really that's it. They do offer a couple of extension activities for lessons that you can incorporate. Again, we've never needed to use these, but just in case you feel like you need the guidance from it, or maybe this is your first round giving Singapore Math a try, then it doesn't hurt to include the home instructor's guide just to see if it helps you feel a little bit more prepared or a know of what you're doing. But again, based off of our years of experience using Singapore Dimensions Math ever since the beginning, I've never needed the home instructor's or teacher's guide. And the 2 textbooks serve as our core for the basis of the curriculum. The course book is designed beautifully with simple, colorful illustrations throughout. There are 5 main characters that guide your child through the course, and these 5 main characters are introduced in the earlier grade levels, and they age each year, each grade level with your child. They're found at the chapter opener, where there's usually a nice large visual and then either a speech or thought bubble that opens up discussion into the topic at hand for that chapter. And then the way that the book goes through materials, and this is the open and go part, there's a think part where it's mainly visual and it's getting you to think about things, looking at it visually. Learn walks you through step by step into how to look at the visuals, how to think about it. Children offer guidance, and there will be a sample problem for your child to work through, usually with the answer already being provided in the learn section. And then it goes to the do section, where now they use the information they obtained to go ahead and work through problems. As you can see, every lesson, not including the chapter opener, but starting at the think page, there's about 4 to 6 pages, and really some of that would be less, just because that learn page and that think page are more the visuals. So you really end up with about 1, 2, 3, 4 pages per lesson where your child is really doing work. Now, the workbook is not in color. It's black and white. And where a workbook might come in handy is, let's say so one schedule that we had was we would go through the textbook and do 4 lessons a week. We would do lessons Monday through Thursday and use Fridays as our flex day, our flexible day, free for field trips, going to the library, doing bigger kind of elective or big art projects or something like that. And then sometimes we would use it as a review day or a catch-up day. If during the week we missed some lessons, then Friday was our catch-up day. The other thing I would do is if there was a concept we were working on in the textbook. So for example, you can see the lesson 2 is on place value. Let's say kids were having a hard time with that. Then the workbook, chapter 1, exercise 2 material will correlate with the textbook, chapter 1, lesson 2 material on place value. So if you need an extension on the materials for review, these will be completely different problems, but on the same topic in the workbook that your child can then use to go over and do, just about 2 to 3 pages long for review. So one way we've used it is Fridays as a review day, on only if they didn't quite get the topic when we worked on it during the week. If they did fine going through the materials during the week, then we didn't even use the workbook. It was minimal. And then the other way we've used it is not at all during the regular school year, but because we school year round, we would complete the first half and second half of the grade level using just the textbooks. And then in the summertime, just to keep things fresh so that we're still doing a little bit of math before we start the school year, so that we're not having to get back into the groove, then we would end up using the workbook through the course of the summer. And so that's your option with the workbook. Again, the workbook is not required. It just offers you an extension with additional problems based on the topics covered in the textbooks. So that would be my recommendation, is that you mainly need the textbook. I've had people ask me before, do you need the textbook and the workbook? Is your child working through both? That would be so redundant and completely unnecessary. The textbook should offer you everything that you need if you just want a way to work on some additional math over the summer, or you want to offer up some extension of problems on topics that your child needs a little extra practice with, then that's where the workbook comes in handy. So again, the textbook A and B will be mainly what you need to take you through the entire course. The way that Singapore Math approaches their lessons is they have increasing levels of abstraction, and they emphasize going from concrete to pictorial to abstract. So each topic is introduced and then developed through problem solving. And then, so really they're kind of doing a spiral of materials until your child masters the materials. And now I'll share the resources we'll be pairing with the first half of our textbook for grade 3. We have a large grid dry erase board. You don't need a large dry erase grid board, but I find that the grid is helpful for the kids for lining up their numbers for addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, for setting up bar graphs, drawing angles, triangles, and other shapes. So this is pretty useful for us, and we like pairing it with a chunky dry erase marker. It just makes it fun to make markings. And of course, a dry eraser. Again, you can use paper, chalkboard, anything that you have around to help with the visual guidance. We happen to have this large grid dry erase board, and it's been pretty useful for us in this way. An indispensable resource we've used through math every year have been our math cubes, and they come as tens, so it makes it easy to count by tens, 10, 20. You can use them obviously for addition and subtraction, to add on or take away. You can split the 10 up into 2 5s, which forms a 10 frame of 5s. The concavities or grooves in them allow for kids to place counters on them to count, or to feel the grooves as they count with their fingers. They can be used for division, divide 10 into 2 equal groups, or for multiplication, 2 sets of 5, or 2 times 5 would be 10. So a great tactile visual resource for math. The other resource that we've started to use more so as of 2nd grade on have been base 10s, where the cube represents 1,000. This square represents 100, and then each of these is a 10, so you can continue to layer them on, and it obviously is helpful with bigger numbers, with place value, addition, subtraction, division, multiplication, especially with bigger numbers where you say maybe take away 110 or something like that. And then there are individual cubes, which you can use for the ones. So another great visual tactile resource to have on hand for math, and this will serve you for several years with math. So then continuing on to the second half of course materials, what we're going to pair with level 3 math we'll continue to use the dry erase board. We'll use a clock, and the clock comes with a dry erase clock, so you can draw the hands on there, and your child would write the time, you write the time, and then they draw the hands. There are puzzle pieces that have a clock side and a numerical time side, and your child would match them up. They're double-sided, so you have all the different hour and half hour and different time options. There are die included, so you could play games where you roll the die, and then they have the hour and the minutes on them, and then your child would show you what has been rolled. And the other fun part are these time of day cards. So your child would write the time on the clock and the numerical time on when that event might be happening, like waking up, having a snack, going to the park, different things like that. So all really fun ways to work on time. And then the last resource that we'll be pairing with our second half of level 3 is just having some change around. So I just keep this jar where we keep change in it and some play money. And if you don't have play money, like I didn't have the $100 bills, I don't know if you can see it in there, so I just made some and wrote it on there. But it's just a nice visual way, and especially with having the actual coins for your child to see the actual size of coins and feel them as you go through the money section, which is in the second half of the course book. And again, something else to just have on hand for the different years of math as you work on money. And that's everything that we'll be using for the 2 halves of math, and they're all resources that you can pretty much use for many years through math. Again, you don't need all of these resources, but in case you're looking for visual, tactile things to pair with your textbook lessons, those are our favorites. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments below, or feel free to message me. And again, you can find us on Happy Learning Moments on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. I hope you found this helpful in your journey in homeschooling, searching curriculum, looking at ways to make learning fun for your child.